guys, it's Sarah. So today I want to talk about rereading books because this is something that's been on my mind quite a bit lately. A lot of people have been rereading some of their favorites and kind of mentioning that they are rereading books that they loved as a child and they're rereading them again. And I think that's really interesting. So I have been thinking about this quite a bit, and I do have some books that I have reread before and I had specific reasons why. And I have books that I've only read once, but I would like to reread them again. So I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. And a lot of people will wonder, my husband included, if you've already read a book, why would you want to read it again? You already know what happens, you've already experienced it, why would you want to do it again? And for me personally, I think it's because if I loved a book so much or it impacted me so much, I wanted to get that feeling again. And if it's something that if I feel like I'm going to read a second time, I'm going to get more out of it, I think that's also really important. A lot of times you can speed read through some of these books and you'll miss some things, and then when you go back and reread them again, you catch them second time around. So I think even though you've read it multiple times, each time you can have a different experience with it. And also for me, I read so much that I forget so much. I do. Obviously, right after I read it, I remember it, but a year down the line, a lot of times I couldn't even tell you the characters' names. Even though I know basically what happens in the book, a lot of details get lost because they're replaced with new details from books that I'm currently reading. So that's another thing too. You kind of want to read it again, get the experience again, remember things that are happening in it, and all that good stuff. So first I'm going to show you a couple of books that I have reread before. And the first one is The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. This is one of my favorite books of all time. This book follows a young girl named Susie who is killed. She is murdered. This is known from the very beginning, and this book is told through Susie's eyes from heaven. So she's looking down on the aftermath of her death and what's happening. You know who her killer is. You watch her family deal with this. You watch her killer deal with it. You watch her family interact with her killer, and nobody knows, and it was very, very haunting. I read this book quite a long time ago for the first time, and it definitely affected me. But I read it before I had children. The second time I read it after I had my first daughter, and it was a completely different experience, and it broke my heart like 10 times more than it did the first time because I had a daughter. So as I was reading from Susie's perspective, I was thinking of my daughter, and I just couldn't imagine my daughter having to go through what Susie did. And anyone doing that to my daughters. So it hit me definitely more profoundly the second time. I definitely want to reread this again sometime in the future. It'll probably be like, a few years from now, but it's definitely something that I do want to go and revisit. And this just, so many feels in this book. Another book that I have read twice, I believe, is The Devil Wears Prada by Lauren Weisberger. This is another one of my top 10. And this book is just funny. It's so funny, and I just really enjoyed it. I liked Lauren Weisberger's writing. She made me laugh a lot. And yeah, I don't know what it was. Just something about this book. I was all over it. I read it twice, and I'm not 100% sure I'd read it again in the future, honestly, but I am keeping it because it is one of my favorites. But yeah, I love this book. And another one that I have read twice, and I will definitely read again in the future, is Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen, another top 10 for me. And this book was so magical. It was absolutely beautiful. And the first time I read it, I remember just absolutely loving it. I was like, oh, this is so great. And then the second time I read it, it was a few years later, and I was like, oh, I remember why I love this book so much, because it had been a while since I read it, and I wanted to just give it another read. I read it again right before the movie came out, and I wanted to kind of have it fresh in my memory when I went to go see the movie, and the movie definitely did this book justice. It was just as magical. But the way this is written is so beautiful, and it was just a lot of details I did not remember from when I read it the first time. So the second time was definitely a great reminder of those. And yeah, I loved it just as much the second time as I did the first time, and I will definitely read this again in the future. So now I'm going to get into books that I want to reread. I've only read them once, and I want to go ahead and read them all again. So the first one is going to be City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I'm planning on reading this summer. I read this book 3 years ago, right before the movie came out, like right before, I think the same month the movie came out, I read this book because me and some friends were going to go, and I definitely wanted to read the book first. and I really liked it. I remember really enjoying it, and I never moved on with the series, so this series is the focus for me this year. So I definitely want to reread City of Bones because I feel like if I go directly into the second one, I'm going to be lost and not remember a lot of things. So this is definitely going to be a reread for me very soon. The next book is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is being made into a movie as well, so I definitely want to reread this book before the movie comes out. I remember absolutely loving this book when I read it the first time. It's been quite a while, so I don't remember a whole lot about it. Honestly, I know that it's about a circus that performs at night, and there are two circus performers who are competing, and they're also in love, so kind of all that kind of stuff, but I just don't remember absolutely everything in here, and I definitely want to get that experience again before I see the movie. So this is definitely going to be reread here pretty soon. Another reread that I know I'm going to read again is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I read this book for the first time last summer, and it is one of my favorite books of all time. It is stunning and beautiful and important and a masterpiece, and I will definitely reread this again multiple times, I'm sure. It is a very dense book, so it's not like a speed read, you know, oh, I'm just gonna read this really quick. No, this is like take your time, absorb it, appreciate it, and love Atticus Finch as much as I do, please. So yeah, so I've only read it once, but I will 100% read it multiple times in my lifetime. I know I will. This series is going to be a 6-book series, so I can definitely picture myself right before the 6th book comes out, kind of rereading the entire series and reading book 6, and then just like having that entire world and experience all in one shot, and that is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I've only read the first 2. There are currently 4 out, and book number 5 is coming out in September. So I am definitely not caught up on this series at all, but the first 2 books I absolutely 100% adored, loved him, and I'm very excited to continue with the series. But like I said, when book 6 comes out, I could definitely see myself just binge reading this entire thing all in one go and just having the entire world of Selena Sardothian in my head when I reach the 6th book and kind of having it all wrap up. As of right now, there's going to be 6. I don't know if there's going to be more. I don't think anyone would be upset by it. But as of right now, the plan is for 6 books. So we'll have to see how all that goes. But yeah, I love, 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 love this series. And the last one I'm going to talk about is my favorite book series of all time in the history of ever, Harry Potter. Can you believe that I've only read this series one time? Each book I've only read it once. I have never reread Harry Potter, seen all the movies multiple times, but I have never reread the books, and that's a problem. So that's a problem I'm going to remedy here really, really soon. And I don't know why I've never reread them. I'm actually just not really sure, but I definitely want to because I know that from the first page, there's going to be details in here that I'm not going to remember because it has been so long since I read these books. I started reading them after the first 3 were out. I got the first 3 as a box set for Christmas one year from my mom, and I was just completely obsessed, and then I was that person at the store at midnight ready for the next book to come out. So it's been a very, very long time since I read all these, but they're still my favorite books of all time. Like, no question. I don't even question it. And yeah, so I definitely want to give all of these a reread. My children are going to read these. I don't care what they say. Even if I have to strap them down and read them to them, it's going to be in their brain. But yeah, so this is a series I definitely want to reread sooner rather than later. Okay guys, so that's it for me today. Those are a bunch of books that I have either reread and why, or that I want to reread and why. Please leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about rereading books, if you do it, if you don't bother. Leave me any books that you have reread or that you want to reread in the future as well. Just kind of leave all your stuff down there so I can see it as well. Hope you guys have a great day. See you again soon. Bye.